here with Adventures in Coaching. I hope you're doing great today. Today, I'm going to talk about this quote that just really, every time I hear it, it just really hits me, to the core. And it says, "Don't let perfect be the enemy of the good." And I just really love this saying because it just gets to the heart of how so many of us struggle with starting something new until it's completely perfect, or we feel like it's just exactly the way that we want it. And how many of us really let the idea that we must have something done perfectly before we put it out there, and that we have to have that plan just perfectly baked, and or that maybe we need to have more experience before applying for that dream job, or that we need to have maybe our brand and our look and our writing just exactly perfect before we put it out there. And when that happens, we hear this voice inside of us saying, what is it going to look like if it's not perfect? What will people think or say? Or will I be judged? And we hear this voice inside of us saying that, and it's that self-doubting voice, and those thoughts that can really keep us stuck. And it happens to everybody. It's perfectly normal. And the idea is to try and figure out how to work around that, that need to really be perfect before we put something out there. And I know, like, for me in my life, it's happened so many times. For example, I remember not applying for several jobs that I really wanted, because I didn't think I finally kind of through that and did it anyway, because I kept having that voice just saying, like, just do it, even though I was in a lot of fear, thinking that, oh, who am I to apply for this job? And I got it, and I ended up working that dream job for many years. And another example is before I started my coaching business. There's so many people out there doing this, and I thought, how I don't look as good as them, or I don't maybe write as well as them, or maybe I don't have a certain production value in terms of my technology when starting something. And I really came to realize that it's not a matter of being perfect, but you've got to start, right? We all have to take that first baby step. And a lot of times when we look and we see those professionals doing a job, an amazing job at something, and they're completely polished and everything comes out perfectly and all of their things are edited, or maybe they're an entrepreneur starting a new business and it's doing really well. And what we don't see so often is how hard it is for those people to or how hard it's been, and the struggles and maybe even the failures that they've had to get to where they are. We just don't see that. All we see are kind of those end results. So another way to maybe look at this is to ask yourself, when you're looking at starting something but you don't know where to start, and it's holding you back. And sometimes it can take weeks, months, even years before you get up the courage to actually do something. So another way to look at this is to really ask yourself, what opportunities to grow and learn will I miss if I don't try? Because you are going to miss out on the learning, and the learning is such the beautiful piece of that. And the irony of starting something that you think maybe isn't perfect, and you start it anyways, what you end up with in the long run may be something very different from what your vision was in the first place. Just because, when you're starting with new ideas, it's not always a straight line or a straight shot to the top of the mountain, so to speak. We're going to have to zig and zag and go different ways. And we find things that maybe work much better for us in the long run compared to like what we thought about when we started. And, how do you know until you start? So, by taking those baby steps, that initial baby step, and maybe, many more baby steps that add up to your path, and that winding path that, like I said, is never a direct line, is, really the only way to, get to that point where you feel that, maybe your product or, your message or whatever is perfectly clear. And even then things change, right? Every product, any advertising, anything that you've ever seen, in terms of, a product. It's constantly changing and evolving and moving forward. So just because you think that, oh, I need to get to this spot here before I feel comfortable, just know that, life is constantly in flux. Inertia is always moving and we're always changing and growing. And, if you don't take that initial first step, you're just never going to figure out where you actually need to go. So, what would it look like for you to move forward with the belief that what you're creating is good enough for right now and let go of the idea that something, really must be perfect before you begin? So, if anything here resonated for you, I'd love to hear from you. Shout out in the comments or reach out to me on my website, adventuresincoaching.com, and head over to the Work With Me page if you're interested in learning more about how coaching might help you in your life. So, thanks so much, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Keep shining on.